Everyone assumes the dangerous plants are out there somewhere, in the woods, in the wild, behind a warning sign at a botanical garden with a little skull symbol on the tag. Nobody thinks to look at the windowsill. But I'm going to show you 12 houseplants that are sitting in ordinary living rooms and bedrooms and kitchens right now. Plants that have sent people to emergency rooms. Plants that have caused nerve damage and organ failure and permanent vision loss. And not one of them came with a warning label that meant anything. These aren't exotic collector plants. I'm talking about the ones at the grocery store checkout, the ones neighbors give you as housewarming gifts, the ones you've walked past in every waiting room you've ever sat in. Stick around for number 6 because that one is the most popular houseplant sold in the United States, and what it does to children under 5 is something your pediatrician should have told you, and almost certainly didn't. And stay for number 1, because number 1 is a plant people actively seek out for health reasons. They buy it on purpose. They're proud of it. And there is a specific group of people for whom that plant can trigger a medical emergency with no warning at all. 12 plants. All of them are in homes right now. Let's go. This channel exists because the warning was always there. In the botanical record, in the historical texts, in the toxicology reports, and nobody put it on the tag. If you're the kind of person who wants to know what's actually in your home before it becomes a problem, you found the right place. I go through the plants that the gardening world treats as beautiful and uncomplicated. I read the other half of the story. Subscribe before we get into this list. The people in this community share what doesn't make it onto the care instruction card. Hit the button and stay with us. You're going to want to share some of what's coming. Number 12, Pothos, Epipremnum aureum. Pothos is practically the mascot of low-maintenance houseplants. It survives neglect, it trails beautifully off shelves, it's in every dorm room and office and starter apartment in the country. The care guides call it beginner-friendly and nearly indestructible. Here's what those guides skip. Pothos contains calcium oxalate crystals, needle-like microscopic structures called raphides, throughout every part of the plant. If a child or a pet chews a leaf, those crystals embed into the soft tissue of the mouth, the tongue, the throat. The pain is immediate and intense. The swelling can be significant enough to interfere with swallowing. In adults, skin contact with the sap over time has been associated with contact dermatitis that keeps coming back even after you remove the plant. It's not going to kill a healthy adult who brushes against it. But if you have a toddler who puts everything in their mouth, or a cat who chews trailing plants, Pothos is not the benign green companion it's been sold to you as. Know what you have and put it somewhere hands and paws can't reach. Number 11, Peace Lily, Spathiphyllum. Peace lilies are sold as air-purifying plants, and they do filter certain compounds from indoor air. That part is real. What gets left off the marketing is that the same plant causing those air quality benefits contains calcium oxalate raphides identical to Pothos, and something the peace lily has in addition. It belongs to the Araceae family, where several members contain enough toxic compounds to cause serious harm when ingested. Symptoms from ingesting peace lily include burning pain throughout the mouth and throat, excessive drooling, vomiting, and in cases involving significant quantities, difficulty swallowing that can last for hours. The specific risk here is the name. Peace lily sounds harmless. It looks like something you'd put in a hospital room, and people do, constantly. But actual true lilies in the genus Lilium are catastrophically toxic to cats, causing acute kidney failure. The peace lily isn't in that genus, but the name creates a false comfort around the category. If you have cats, and you also have anything with the word lily in its name, you need to look up the exact botanical classification before you assume it's safe. Number 10, Dieffenbachia, also called dumb cane. The common name tells you something if you know what it means. Dumb cane got that name because of what happens if you ingest it. The calcium oxalate crystals and additional toxic proteins cause such severe swelling and inflammation of the mouth and tongue that speech becomes temporarily impossible. That's where the name comes from. That's not a cautionary tale about ancient misuse. That is what this plant does, described plainly by the people who observed it firsthand. Dieffenbachia is a common indoor plant. Broad, tropical-looking leaves, often variegated in cream and green, and it's sold everywhere. Children have been hospitalized after chewing the leaves. Sap contact with eyes has caused temporary vision impairment. Handling the plant while cooking and then touching food without washing hands thoroughly has caused oral reactions in adults. It's a beautiful plant. It's also the plant that literally gave speechlessness a name. Keep that in mind when you decide where it lives in your house. Number 9. Philodendron. Philodendrons are everywhere. Split-leaf varieties, heart-leaf varieties, climbing varieties. They're sold under that name and under others. They're easy to care for, and they've been popular houseplants for decades. The toxicity profile is consistent across the genus. Calcium oxalate crystals again, concentrated in the leaves and stems, causing the same spectrum of oral burning, swelling, and gastrointestinal distress when ingested. But here's the thing about philodendron specifically. Because the genus is so large and so popular, the name gets applied loosely in garden centers. You may be sold something as a philodendron that's actually a different Araceae species with a more aggressive toxicity profile. Pothos was marketed as philodendron for years because of their similar appearance. If you have children or pets in your home, and you have trailing or climbing tropical foliage you bought under a vague name, look up the exact botanical name. The broad category of tropical foliage plants sold under casual names contains a significant range of toxicity levels. The casual name tells you very little. The botanical name tells you what you actually have. Number 8. Sago palm, Cycas revoluta. This one is a different category of risk entirely. We've been in calcium oxalate territory, painful, alarming, rarely fatal in adults. Sago palm is not in that category. Every single part of the sago palm is toxic. The seeds, most of all. The toxin is called psychocin, and it causes acute liver failure. In dogs, ingestion of even a few seeds has a mortality rate above 50%, even with aggressive veterinary treatment. In humans, the documented cases of sago palm poisoning involve serious liver and neurological damage. It looks like a small architectural palm, low to the ground, with stiff, feathery fronds radiating outward. It's sold as a houseplant and as a landscape plant in warmer climates. It's popular specifically because it looks dramatic and prehistoric and easy. If you have a sago palm and a dog, this is not a theoretical risk. Move the plant today. This is one situation where the gardening world's silence on toxicity is genuinely inexcusable. The data on sago palm and canine liver failure is not obscure. It is well documented, widely reported by veterinary toxicologists, and still not printed on the tag. We're halfway through, and the next few are the ones that genuinely surprised me when I went through the research. Number 6 in particular. If you've got someone under 10 years old in your house, you need to hear number 6. Stay with me. The back half of this list is where it gets important. And if this is the kind of information you actually want in your feed, subscribe. This community shares what the gardening world leaves in the footnotes. Number 7. ZZ plant, Zamioculcas zamiifolia. The ZZ plant has become one of the defining houseplants of the last decade. Nearly indestructible, tolerates low light, looks architectural and polished. Interior designers love it. Plant influencers push it constantly. It's in the Araceae family. Calcium oxalate crystals throughout all plant parts. Ingestion causes the standard spectrum: oral irritation, burning, potential vomiting. Skin contact with sap can cause irritation in sensitive individuals, and sap contact with eyes has been reported to cause temporary irritation and should be treated promptly. What puts ZZ plant at number 7 specifically is something that circulates in gardening communities as rumor and has enough legitimate concern behind it that it deserves a direct statement. Early research raised questions about whether ZZ plant sap contained compounds with potential genotoxic properties in laboratory studies. The research is limited, and the results have not been replicated in real-world exposure contexts. That does not mean the risk is confirmed. It means the research is not finished, and the plant was not studied as thoroughly before mass commercial distribution as you might expect from something sold in every big box store in the country. Wash your hands after handling it. Don't let children or pets ingest any part of it. That's the honest current position. Number 6. Golden pothos, listed separately from standard pothos. You've already heard about pothos at number 12, but golden pothos, specifically the form sold under that name, often marketed as devil's ivy, warrants its own entry because of the scale of how it's distributed. This is the most widely sold houseplant in America. It is in hospitals, schools, pediatric waiting rooms, childcare centers, grocery stores, pharmacies. It is given as a gift so routinely that most people receiving it have no idea what it is beyond the trailing green plant someone gave me. The calcium oxalate crystal content is established. What matters at this scale is the exposure math. This is not a plant that most adults will be harmed by in casual contact. But the number of homes with children under 5 that contain this plant, with zero awareness of the oral toxicity risk, is genuinely significant. Poison Control receives thousands of calls annually about pothos ingestion. Most cases resolve without serious harm. Some don't. And virtually none of the people making those calls were warned at the point of purchase. The plant doesn't come with that information. It comes with a care guide about watering. That is the problem, not the plant. the silence around it. Number 5. Lantana. Lantana is often sold as an outdoor plant, but it's increasingly popular as a container plant brought indoors or kept on covered porches. The clusters of tiny flowers are brilliant, orange, yellow, red, pink, and it blooms enthusiastically. The berries are extremely toxic, particularly to children and pets. Green, unripe lantana berries contain lantidine A and B, compounds that cause liver damage and photosensitization, a condition where exposure to sunlight causes severe skin reactions. Livestock deaths from lantana are documented across multiple continents. Children have required hospitalization after ingesting the berries. The flowers are relatively low in toxicity. The ripe, black-purple berries are less toxic than the green ones, but the plant produces green berries alongside flowers simultaneously, and a child who observes the colorful flowers and reaches for the berries nearby doesn't know the distinction. Lantana is on this list specifically because it crosses the boundary between outdoor and indoor space in ways that make people feel it's been safely transitioned. It hasn't. The toxicity came inside with it. Number 4. English ivy, Hedera helix. English ivy is one of those plants that codes as completely benign through decades of visual familiarity. It's in every classical garden painting. It climbs university buildings. It appears in wedding arrangements and Christmas centerpieces. It is, somehow, never treated with the seriousness it deserves. The entire plant contains triterpenoid saponins and polyacetylene compounds. Ingestion, particularly of the berries, causes vomiting, diarrhea, excessive salivation, and in cases involving significant quantities, labored breathing, convulsions, and coma. Skin contact with the leaves causes contact dermatitis in a substantial portion of people who handle it, sometimes severely. Here's the insider detail that most people don't know. The sap from English ivy is most concentrated and most reactive in new growth, the young, bright green shoots that appear in spring and early summer. Gardeners who handle ivy regularly and never had a reaction sometimes suddenly develop one after handling vigorous new growth, and they can't explain why the same plant that never bothered them before is now causing a rash. Now you know. Wear gloves. Wash afterward. Don't let the familiarity of it make you careless. Number 3. Oleander. Nerium oleander. Oleander grows everywhere in warm climates and is kept as a container plant in cooler ones. It's a Mediterranean plant with a history that stretches back thousands of years. Ancient Greek military accounts, Pliny the Elder, Indian Ayurvedic medical records, all of them mention oleander, and all of them mention it in the context of extreme caution. Every part of this plant contains cardiac glycosides, primarily oleandrin and nerine, that interfere directly with heart function. Every part. The leaves, the stems, the flowers, the roots, the sap, the smoke from burning oleander wood, water that cut oleander has been sitting in. Historical accounts describe oleander poisoning in detail because it happened regularly. There are documented cases of soldiers dying from using oleander branches as skewers to cook meat over a fire. There are cases of children poisoned by using the hollow stems as blowpipes. There are cases of adults poisoned from a single cup of tea made from the leaves. This plant is sold in garden centers and hardware stores as a flowering ornamental. The tag describes the bloom color. Scripture mentioned it. Ancient physicians recorded it carefully. The modern marketplace treats it like a petunia. If this one is in your home or your yard and you have children or animals, take it seriously. This is not a mild irritant category plant. This is a plant with documented human fatalities. Number 2. Lily of the Valley, Convallaria mahalis. Lily of the Valley is one of the most beloved plants in the world. The tiny white bell-shaped flowers are used in royal wedding bouquets. They're associated with purity, with spring, with gentleness. The fragrance is used in perfumes. It is a plant that signals innocence by appearance and association. Convallaria majalis contains over 30 cardiac glycosides, including convalitoxin, compounds that affect the electrical conduction system of the heart. Every part is toxic. The red berries are particularly dangerous to children because they're attractive and small. The water in a vase of cut lily of the valley is toxic. Documented cases include children being seriously poisoned by drinking that water. The concentration of glycosides in this plant is high enough that it was historically studied as a possible treatment for heart conditions, the same way digitalis from foxglove was studied and used. The therapeutic dose and the toxic dose are close together, very close. Florists handle this plant daily. Wedding decorators handle it constantly. It appears in spring arrangements in homes with small children every year. The gap between how it's perceived and what it actually is represents one of the largest disconnects in the entire world of ornamental plants. Number 1. Aloe vera. Stay with me on this one because I know what you're thinking. Aloe vera, the first aid plant, the sunburn plant, the plant on every list of things you should grow in your kitchen, the plant your grandmother kept. Here's what nobody tells you. The clear gel inside aloe, the part that goes on sunburns and works genuinely well for that purpose, is not the problem. The problem is the latex layer, the yellow-green layer just beneath the skin of the leaf, between the outer green skin and the clear gel. That layer contains compounds called anthraquinones, specifically aloin, which is a potent laxative with a concerning safety record when taken internally. The FDA reviewed aloe laxative products in 2002 and required them to be removed from the over-the-counter market in the United States because the available data was insufficient to establish their safety. That's not a fringe position. That's the FDA's documented action. More specifically, research in animal studies has found associations between high doses of aloin and tumor promotion in the colon. Those studies have limitations. The dose matters. The preparation matters. But the people selling aloe supplements and aloe juice products are not always making those distinctions clearly. And the people buying them, specifically people with inflammatory bowel conditions, pregnant women, and people on blood thinners or heart medications, all of whom face elevated risk, are often completely unaware that the distinction exists. Aloe on your skin after a sunburn. That use has a long, clean history, and the science supports it. Aloe juice, aloe supplements, aloe internally. That is a different plant in a meaningful sense. The part you can't see when you look at the leaf. Get the full picture before you consume it. The warning was always there, it just wasn't on the label. I promised you a bonus, and this one is worth staying for. There's a category of plant risk that nobody talks about. Not the ingestion risk, not the skin contact risk, the inhalation risk. Several common houseplants, when they're watered frequently and kept in low airflow conditions, create the ideal environment for a mold called aspergillus in the soil. Aspergillus spores are airborne. For healthy adults with no immune concerns, exposure at normal indoor levels is manageable. For people with compromised immune systems, people undergoing chemotherapy, people with HIV, people on long-term corticosteroids, aspergillus can cause a serious infection called aspergillosis, a condition that affects the lungs and can spread systemically. The plants most associated with this aren't the exotic ones. It's the ordinary ones in ordinary soil kept ordinarily moist. Peace lilies, pothos, philodendrons. The moisture-loving plants on this list are also the ones most associated with this soil-based mold risk. If someone in your household is immunocompromised, this is a conversation worth having with their doctor before you decide where plants live in the home. Not every plant in every room. Specifically high-moisture plants in rooms where that person spends significant time. That's the bonus. Not a plant, a pattern. The thing nobody thinks to ask about until they need to. Here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. Which one of these is in your home right now? And did you know about it before this video? I'm not asking so you feel bad about it. I'm asking because knowing what's already there is the beginning of being in control of it. Go look, then come back and tell me what you found. If this is the kind of information that belongs in more people's homes, share this video. Send it to the neighbor who gave you a pothos. Send it to the parent with the toddler and the trailing plant in every room. Subscribe if you're not already part of this community. We put out videos for people who want the complete picture, not just the beautiful half. That's why you're here, and that's why we'll see you in the next one.